In this video, we will see how we can represent graphs in computer memory. In the previous video, we looked at how we can draw a graph if the vertices and the edges are given. Now we will look at how this graph can be represented in computer memory for solving problems related to graph theory. So there are two ways of representing a graph in computer memory. The first one is the adjacency matrix representation. The second one is the adjacency list representation. Okay, and now we will look at what are these kind of representations are. So the first one is adjacency matrix representation. So the adjacency matrix representation, we will be forming a matrix. I am calling that with a name A. It can be any symbol, but the main idea is for each edge u comma v, we set a of u v equal to true or 1, otherwise the entry in the array is false. That is, you have a matrix A here. So what we are doing is we will be naming each of these columns and rows with the names of vertices. So here I have 4 vertices A, B, C and D. So this column is named with A, this is B, this is C and this is D. Similarly, I will be naming each rows also with the name of the vertices. So this is A, B, C and D. So if you have n vertices or v vertices, there will be v square elements with v rows and v columns in the adjacency matrix. So this matrix is called adjacency matrix. Now we will decide what values has to be given for each of these elements. So the criteria is for each edge u v, we set a of u v equal to true or 1. So if you look at this diagram, the edges are, we have the edges as A, B is an edge. That is, you have a connection from A to B, not from B to A. So B, A will not be an edge. So we have A, C and we have A, D, that is this edge. So we looked at these edges. Then I have an edge B, D. Then I have one more edge, that is DC. So what the criteria says is, if you have an edge u v, then we set a of u v equal to true. So you look at the first one, a b. So we had to set my matrix is A, so a of a b equal to 1. So a b will be this point, so that is equal to 1 or true. I can either write 1 or true there. Then I have AC, so the cell corresponding to AC, this is A and this is C, so this is A of AC, so this is 1. And I have another edge, that is AD, so this will be 1. Then I have another edge BD, so you take this one, the B row, then the D column, so BD is also 1. Then you have DC, so this is the row corresponding to D, so DC is also 1. So we only have 5 edges, so we will have 5 entries, non-zero entries in this matrix. And what we have to do is, otherwise all the entries in this row is false or 0. So I'm writing these values as 0. Okay, so this is one way of representing a matrix using adjacency matrix representation. And if you look at this graph, this is actually a directed graph. That is, you have indicated the edges specifically what is the origin and what is the destination. Okay, so if you have an edge A to B, there is no edge from B to A implicitly in this graph. But if you look at an example of a undirected graph such as this one, so if you have an edge from A to B, then similarly you will have an edge from B to A implicitly. So this is not a directed graph, this is an undirected graph. Okay, so we'll do the same procedure here also. So I will be having 4 columns with the names of the vertices A, B, C, D. Here also I will have A, B, C and D. then I will be filling up the values like A, B, there is a connection, so this will be 1. Then A to C there is a connection, A to D there is a connection, then B to A there is a connection, then B to D I have a connection, then D to B, A and C I have connections. So before that C is connected to A and D, so C is connected to A and D is connected to all the vertices A, B, C. So D is connected to A, D is connected to B, and D is connected to C. Okay. So this is the connection or the adjacency matrix, and we have to put all other values as 0. And here we do not have any loops, that is A is not connected to A itself, so we do not have any loops, otherwise these values would have been 1. Now in other case there is a special case there. For example, if this connection has some weight or weightage for each of the edges, such as whether it may be representing the uh, distance from A to B. Suppose that there is a 4 kilometer distance from A to B, and from B to D there is a distance of 6 kilometers. Then instead of just writing 1 or 2, we can actually write the distance from A to B, such as for example in this column we can write it as 4, and B to A can be also be write it as 4. Then you have D to B, D to B can be written as 6. Then B to D can be written as 6. Okay. So this is the case if you have some weights or some cost associated with each of the edges. Now we'll be looking at the concept of a dense graph. Okay. So if you have suppose that if you have V vertices, okay, V vertices, then if V, each of these vertices are connected to every other vertex and itself, then the total number of edges will be equal to V square. And if this V square is equal to or approximately equal to the number of edges, then I will call that graph as a dense graph. In other words, if there is an edge from one vertex to another vertex, then the corresponding entry will in this table. If there is a connection from one node to another node, then the corresponding entry in this graph will be 1. Okay, which means that each of the cells in this graph in this matrix represent whether an edge is present or not. If all edges are present, that means that each vertex is connected to every other vertex and itself. Okay, so maximum I can have V square edges, and if a graph contains V square edges, then that graph can be called as a dense graph. So you can see that this A is connected to B, then A is connected to C, A is connected to D, and similarly B is connected to A, B is connected to D, and B is connected to C. You can see that all vertices are connected to every other vertex. So if I write the adjacency matrix here, so I'm just naming this one as A, B, C, and D. This also as A, B, C, and D. Then there is no connection from A to A. There is no connection from B to B, not from C to C, and D to D connections are also not there. And you can see that there is a connection from A to B, A to C, A to D, then B to A, B to C, B to D, and C to A, C to B, and C to D, then D to A, then D to B, and D to C. So you can see that almost all the entries in this particular matrix is filled. So this is an example for a dense graph. Okay. This relation might not be completely equal to, it is approximately equal to the square of the number of vertices. Now if you look at this one, the first graph that we have seen, here I have a connection from A to, there is no connection from A to A, then I have a connection from A to B, then A to C, and A to D, Then I have a connection from B to D only. There is no other connection from B to any other vertices. Then I do not have any connection from C to any other vertices. Then for D I have only one connection from D to C. So this is only one. Then I have all other entries 0. Okay, so you have around if you look at this graph, you have around 4 into 4 16 possible edges, but you have only 5 edges filled. Okay, so this can be taken as an example for a sparse graph. Okay, so for a sparse graph, if the number of edges are very less than the number of vertices, then that graph can be called as a sparse graph. And we will see another example. If you look at this graph, I have edges vertices numbered as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Then here also 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, then if you draw the connections in this adjacency matrix, then you have 1 is connected to 2, then 2 is connected to 3, 3 is connected to 4, as well as 3 is connected to 7, then 4 is connected to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and 8 back to 1. And all other entries in this matrix is 0. So this is my adjacency matrix. So you have around you have 8 into 8 64 entries in this matrix, or you can have maximum 64 edges. But if you look at the number of edges that we have in this graph, that is only you have 8 and plus 1 9, so you have only 9 edges, which means that 64 minus 9, which is equal to 55. Out of 64, 55 entries are 0. That is, we are not efficiently using all the spaces that we have in this adjacency matrix, and we are utilizing only 9 cells to represent the data. But that is the main disadvantage of adjacency matrix representation. In adjacency matrix, if the graph is a sparse graph, then we will be wasting a lot of space because we do not have anything to fill, or those spaces are not conveying any information for us. If you consider the case of a dense graph, the number of edges are approximately equal to the square of the number of vertices, then this kind of representation is very useful, because almost all entries in this particular adjacency matrix is filled, or in other words, all of them are conveying information for us. So this is that is, adjacency matrix is used or preferably used when the graph is a dense graph. Now we will look at the adjacency list representation. The adjacency list representation solves the problem related to the wastage of memory when you represent a graph using adjacency matrix representation. So usually adjacency list or adjacency list representation is used when the graph is sparse. And in addition, you have to understand that most of the graphs that we see in real life are sparse graph. There will not be a lot of connection. There will be only a limited number of connections from one vertex to another vertex, or from one entity to another entity. And now let's look at how adjacency list representation is done. So first we need to create a list of the vertices present in the graph. So here in this graph we have 4 vertices. So I'll be creating a list of 4 vertices. So this list will have 4 different elements. So the vertices are A, B, C, D. Okay, next one is, for each of these vertices present in this graph, I need to create a list of vertices which are adjacent to each of these vertices. So for example, I have A here. Now you just look at the vertex A, then you find which all are vertices are adjacent to A. So the vertex B is adjacent to A, vertex C is adjacent to A, and vertex D is adjacent to A. So you create a list that represent each of the adjacent vertices. So here I will be writing B, then I can write C, then I can write D. Okay, and for B we have only one adjacent vertex, that is D. Okay, then for C I do not have any vertices connected, so this C will remain blank. Then for D I have only one vertex, that is C. Okay, so this is how you can represent a graph uh, using adjacency list representation. The idea is simple. You first create a list, or this can be in actually this can be an array of nodes, and from each node you can start a linked list. Okay, so first you create a list of the vertices, then from each vertex you start a list with elements. Those elements are the adjacent nodes of each of the vertex listed in the list. Okay, now we will see another example. So this is a undirected graph. So here as well we have four different vertices. So we have A, B, C and D. So A is connected to B, C, D. So you start a list which has the elements B, C, D. Okay, then for B we have two vertices A and D. So for B we have A and D, and for C we have A and D again. A and D, and for D we have A, B, C. So I will be writing A, B and C. Okay, so this is how you represent a graph using adjacency list representation. Now you look at this example. This example, when we represented this one using the adjacency matrix representation, then that matrix was a sparse matrix. Now you take this example and you try to represent it in the form of a adjacency list. So you look at this one, that is you have nodes 1 or vertices 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, then 8. So this is the list of vertices that I have. Okay, now you look at the adjacent vertices of each of the nodes. So the one is connected to 2 alone, so I will have only 1 here, then 2 is connected to 3, and 3 is connected to 4 and 7, 4 and 7, then 4 is connected to 5, 5 is connected to 6, 6 is connected to 7, and then 7 to 8, then 8 back to 1. When you look at this representation, then you compare with the corresponding adjacency matrix representation. So you will see we have saved a lot of space for representing a graph in adjacency list representation. So if you have v number of vertices then E number of edges. Then for an adjacency list representation, we will require the number of vertex plus the number of edges present in the graph. This will be the memory that is required to represent the this is the memory that we require to represent the entire graph, that is number of vertices plus number of edges. So if that is apparent from this representation, so you can see that this particular vertex has 8 nodes, or 8, this particular graph has 8 vertices. Then this graph has, you can count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 plus 1 9 uh, edges. So we have 8 plus 9. So you look at this list. So this is the number of vertices present. So we have 8 memory spaces used. Then you look at the number of edges. So you count that this element. So you can see that this is the memory used is equivalent to the storage space required to store 9 uh, edges or 9 nodes. So the total memory required is around V plus E in the case of a adjacency list. So in the case of adjacency matrix, that was equal to number of vertex square, but we will not be using most of these spaces. Then with that is a wastage of space. So if we are using, or if all the elements in this V square elements are filled, then we will call that matrix, that graph, as a dense graph. And if the number of edges is very very small compared to this number, we will call that graph as a sparse graph. I hope this is clear. Thank you.